So what's up everybody, Black Clover 356 fan translations are out. I love this chapter. This chapter was good. It actually made the scene where Yuno got his star magic make more sense. I literally thought it was, I'm gonna be honest, an ass pull. When Yuno got his star magic, we learned that Yuno had a elf spirit in his body, but the star magic, it was kind of out of nowhere. But now that we know that Yuno has a connection to Peter Pan, also the whole Neverland thing and the fairy dust and the star magic basically looking like star dust kind of in a way, and then Yuno being able to fly, Peter Pan flying with Tinkerbell's fairy dust, stardust, it's kind of like connecting. So I really like this chapter. It made more of Yuno's character make sense, and I'm really glad that 𝚤𝚘𝚎 kind of like show that Yuno, even though he's not going to be the Wizard King, he technically is 𝚤𝚜's real rival, and also he's destined to be the rival against apparently Lucius. So I really enjoy this, and if you think about it, they're coming from the same country, so it makes sense that Yuno being the prince of the country where the 𝚤𝚑𝚙𝚢 family, where Lucius technically is originally from, is supposed to battle against each other. So I really like this chapter, and I'm gonna dive a little bit deep into the whole Peter Pan thing. I didn't want to talk about it too much in the spoilers. I was saving it for the review because I noticed something about this whole Peter Pan reference and Yuno's character and his future. So let's get into my Black Clover 356 review. First of all, if you like anime, manga reviews, discussion, spoilers, and theories, definitely hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, So I shame with some false copyright strikes. So let's get this channel back to 5,000. I'm starting to see the momentum back in the channel, so I really appreciate you guys for your support. So the beginning of the chapter basically is where 355 finished off. You see Yuno taking off his bandage, and we're kind of wondering why is he taking off his bandage, but now we know what he was trying to do. I'm guessing that bandage that he wraps around his arm is to save up and store the star magic to do Neverland, because I'm pretty sure this takes a lot of concentration and mana, but of course Yuno is basically blessed by the Black Clover gods, aka 𝚤𝚅, so he has large amounts of mana. But now we see what this was about, and the thing I really noticed about this is that how Yuno is basically becoming William Vengeance. I know he was appointed as the captain of the Golden Dawns in the last chapter, but literally Yuno surpassed William Vengeance in terms of like support mage. The only thing we haven't seen Yuno doing like the skills of being a support mage is actually like healing somebody. So I wonder if star magic, there's probably a spell that he can somehow heal somebody, because technically humans are basically just stardust that's alive. Because if you think about it, all life forms and everything in this earth, or everything in the universe, is pieces of a star. Another thing that I noticed as well as this chapter is that those angels, they seem to be, from Morris's dialogue, those angels seem to be humans that have been purified, that aren't possessed by devils. So that's just what I'm thinking, because Morris says rebels unsuited for the new world are modified and reformed into the guardian angels of the new world. Renegades who throw the world into chaos become bringers of the law in order. What a rational world this is. So his basically ramble is kind of hinting that these angels, or these whatever you want to call them, people are saying that they're paladins, but a different form of paladins. I think it's the same as well. So they're just humans that completely been purified, because you don't see them having any horns, you just see them having a halo. I really enjoyed the dialogue with the magic knights fighting these angels, how at the beginning they were shooting and they're realizing that, hey, even with all types of magic attributes and the amount of power from the nobles and the magic knights, they weren't able to do much to these angels. And even with all these things, they were scared, but yet they kept fighting. I think that's amazing. This chapter really shows how the magic knights and the people of the Clover Kingdom love the society that they live in, and they're very patriotic in a sense, because we didn't really see that too much in the beginning of Black Clover. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong, but we didn't really see too much where like people were afraid but they still continue fighting. I know they were at war with basically the 𝚬𝚙 Kingdom, but we didn't see all the other captains and all the other magical knights. We only saw like basically the group that we know, the captains, the Black Bulls, the Golden Dawns, obviously the Pacific Golden Dawns that 𝚤𝚅 likes bring them in the story, that are basically Black Bull members, you know, Mimosa. With that being said, seeing the other magical knights fight a hopeless battle and still be afraid afraid but still want to fight because they want to help their citizens. I think that was a very touching moment. I really like that about this chapter. It reminds me of that theme that we constantly see in Black Clover, is that surpass your limits, don't give up. And that's something that I always loved about shonen mangas, and also what I loved about Black Clover. Asta came from the bottom to bottom. Technically Yuno too, but he's more privileged. But look at Asta. Even though yes, he's possessed by a devil that gives him the power to basically be the counter of anything in this magical world, but see him how far he went from where he came from. It's crazy. That's what I really liked about this chapter. It reminding me of that nostalgic feeling of not giving up, surpassing your limits. And I know that's always throughout the whole entire Black Clover series, but this chapter, seeing the people fight for their country and fight this hopeless battle, but still go in to try to save their people. And then here comes Yuno being the ultimate support mage, helping out his fellow magical knights and his citizens fight this battle. And of course, Yuno's actual people is people of the Spade Nation, but still, it's a great moment to show the devotion and also a better understanding of the magical knights and their role in the Clover Kingdom, because we know that they were magical knights. Obviously they're knights that have magical powers, but you technically don't realize that they're soldiers. Right now they're fighting for their kingdom's prosperity and well-being. Also seeing Soul, her using that golem and punching the ray of this angel, she says something that was very interesting. She says, despite being peasants, they kept fighting. So she's basically referring to Asta and Yuno. In my opinion, she's basically referencing Asta's don't give up, continue fighting. And like I said before, this does feel like a final chapter because you're getting a lot of the people that Asta inspired and also Yuno inspired, and they're out here in the battlefield acknowledging them. Even though Asta wasn't acknowledged directly, but Soul's comment here, in my opinion, kind of reference to Asta and his never giving up. Soul and the captains realized their magic got a little bit stronger, and then you see this big dome. It's kind of cool seeing this dome. It's just, you don't know how big the circumference is. Bell basically says the power of love between Yuno and I created this by manipulating the flow of time and magic power inside this space. Our allies' magic strengthens and the enemy's is weakened. You see Bell, she looks different in my opinion. One thing I wanted to say this is that I used to believe that Yuno's star magic was basically an ass pull, not a nicer way to say it. I said this at the beginning of the video. I didn't understand the reference as to why Yuno has star magic, but now looking back at the series and also looking into Yuno's name in Japan, there's many different meanings, but one of the meanings is basically distant from time and space. So what is Yuno doing right now? He's able to fight and counter Lucius's time magic, but also he created a space that separates himself from time. 𝚲𝚘𝚡 referenced this. It does give more meaning to Yuno, and then like Yuno also the star magic, because Yuno was supposed to be basically the counter to Lucius. What is a counter to time? The stars, the thing that actually counts time. Like I said before in the spoilers, the Roman clock, basically the sundial, it counted the time by the shadow of where the sun will leave. So it makes sense that the sun, which is a star, Yuno fights Lucius. Another thing that I enjoyed about this chapter was the fact that Yuno has a reference to Peter Pan. It reminded me of something. So the orphanage are the Lost Boys, and if I remember correctly, in the Disney movie at least, Peter Pan eventually has to leave and become an adult. He eventually has to grow up. Basically, Peter Pan, the story is, at least the Disney movie, I didn't read the book. Let me know in the comments if the book's any different. But in the Disney movie, he finds a girl and eventually has to grow up. I think that's going to be a reference as to Yuno's character story. I think Yuno's going to end up being with somebody from the Spade Kingdom, and he's going to actually have to grow up. I wouldn't be surprised if he's in an arranged marriage, because we've seen that in the Spade Kingdom they have arranged marriages. It could be somebody that's of nobility or royalty in the Spade Nation, like another royal family. We don't really know the royal families in the Spade Nation, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's another person that's high quality magic. And Yuno's growing up is basically him becoming the prince or the king of the Spade Nation, but also leaving his childhood home, the Clover Kingdom, behind. I think that's what's gonna happen. I think Yuno, his story arc ends with him becoming the king of the Spade Nation, like, and him basically leaving the Clover Kingdom to become the adult, the man that he's supposed to be, leaving his childhood home, leaving the Lost Boys, the people in the orphanage, so that he can be what he was supposed to be, the person that not only is the counter to Lucius, but also the person that's destined to rule the country that Lucius came from. I think that's where 𝚲𝚘𝚡's heading, and I think it's really cool if he does do this, because Yuno is Peter Pan. It's been hinted. We didn't really realize this, but Yuno has been Peter Pan this whole entire time. Peter Pan has been able to fly. When using wind, Yuno can actually fly. Belle is a reference to Tinkerbell. They're both fairies. The only difference is that Tinkerbell has fairy dust. When she flies, when Peter Pan flies, they always have like this fairy dust, at least in the Disney movie. We didn't see that here in Black Clover. However, now that Yuno has star magic and those little stars kind of look like fairy dust, you could see where 𝚤𝚘𝚅 was going with that. I understand now why 𝚤𝚅 gave Yuno star magic, especially now that we know that Lucius is the main bad guy and his main power is time magic. I know he has soul magic, but soul magic isn't for offensive attacks. It's basically to change people, but his offensive attacks are time magic. Also, Yuno being able to stop Lucius' time spear when Lucius was actually going for the kill. It shows that Lucius is not playing, that he knows that Yuno is actually a threat. I really enjoy that because we do need a villain in Black Clover that is competent, because we've been having multiple villains throughout the story that are incompetent. They weren't really villains now that we think about it, because they were all being used as pawns for this guy. So 𝚤𝚅, I hope he does him justice, but so far I'm liking how 𝚤𝚅 is handling Lucius in terms of showing him that he's out for the kill. I know a lot of you guys have been telling me you want Lucius to get that win, and honestly I want that win too. I want him to be that threat that we felt when Xenon took down half of the Golden Dawn. I know obviously he killed members that we didn't really care about. I want Lucius to be that villain that we feel like it is hopeless. We haven't had that feeling since basically Xenon and him taking Yami. I think Xenon, when he was first introduced in that part, he was a boss. So I really like this chapter. I'm really excited, but I wonder if Yuno has any brothers out there that the 𝚤𝚑𝚅 siblings failed to assassinate, or they could have assassinated. You never know. However, Yuno at the end going to Spirit of Zephyr and starting to attack Lucius is going to be interesting. The next chapter is going to have a lot of action, star and wind magic. I wonder what other combinations can Yuno do with those two magic. I think he had like a star whip and when he was fighting Xenon, so I wonder if that whip comes back again. But yes, that's basically what I have to say. Let me know what you think about this chapter. Let me know what you think about this video. Do you like Black Clover 356? Did you like the reference to Peter Pan? Did you miss that Belle had a connection to Tinkerbell, or did you always kind of question why is her name similar to Tinkerbell? What do you think those angels are? Do you think that they're humans that have been purified, just that they don't have a devil host? Or do you think that they're low-ranked devils that have no horns that have been purified? Alright, like if you liked the video, comment, subscribe, and I'm out of here.